Hello, I'm Danny Nguyen, a journalist for the Talon. Students across the U.S. have been practicing lockdown drills for the past 20 years to prepare against school shootings. But since students have been practicing them since kindergarten, are they caring less about these drills? School shootings have become a more common phenomenon over the past 10 years as the occurrence of them increases with the amount of victims. And that leads me to ask, are school shootings becoming desensitized? Hello, I'm Danny Nguyen, a journalist with the Talon, and you are?
I'm Nick Nelson. Danny, it's good seeing you again.
Good, nice to meet you again too. So we had a lockdown last week, right? And so why do you think they're so important for students to practice?
Well, I think that in the event of an active intruder, if we were to have one, it's going to be very high stakes. A lot of people are going to be very nervous, very anxious, and so I think it's always good to practice things, knowing that it's not going to go exactly like the practice, but just to have a little bit of a game plan when something that stressful comes about.
So since students have been practicing them since kindergarten, do you feel that they're still taking them as serious as they were back then?
So most recently we have started putting in where the active intruder is, and so the teachers and students have to make that call on what to do with the run, hide, fight. I think students are maybe starting to get a little desensitized to them, but I think any practice is good practice.
Do you think you can get students to take them a little more seriously?
I don't think so, because I think it is such a high stress situation. We wouldn't want to pretend or give false information that something was actually happening when it wasn't. And so I think letting students know about the drill, reviewing the protocols of run, hide, fight, and then having the teachers or the students make the call on what would they do based upon with the information they have.
So what is your reaction when you hear about a school shooting?
My first thing that I always think about is I think about my kids. Right, I have two kids. I have my son's in 5th grade and my daughter's in 3rd grade at Southeast Elementary. So my thought goes to them, right? Like, oh my goodness, what are elementary kids? What are they doing, right? And then it's just sadness, right? That we have some innocent folks that are being impacted, and livelihoods and families are being impacted.
So since school shootings have become more common, would you say that they are being desensitized by people?
I would say that the loss of children, the loss of students and innocent lives, I don't think you can ever desensitize that. But I can't speak for everybody else, right? But I don't think you can desensitize young students and their lives being altered.
Hello, I'm Dan Nguyen, a journalist with the Talon, and I'm here interviewing
Rihanna Broker.
And you were involved in the school shooting, so if you mind, would you mind telling your story?
Yeah, of course. So last year I went to UCCS, which is in Colorado Springs, and in February it was the morning of February 16th, I do believe, we got a notification on our phones through our UCCS Safe app that there was an active shooter on campus and that we were to evade, defend, lock, stay in our dorms and everything. And so me and my friends, my roommate, we all woke up. We were calling our friends and family, just kind of trying to stay out of the way, because we woke up a few hours after that text had got sent out and everything. And the shooter ended up running away, but there ended up being a double homicide on campus, and they didn't end up finding him until about 3 days later, and he's still waiting a court date and everything, but yeah.
So after that, how did it feel going back to school after an event like that?
It was terrifying, to be honest. I didn't stay in my dorm for a few days and stayed off campus for most of that day. They had a bunch of events set up throughout the week to just kind of help everybody out and like get them more acclimated to back to school and everything. But it was an eerie feeling being there, especially knowing what happened and all that stuff.
And do you think that school shootings are being desensitized?
Absolutely. I think that as much as people want to say that they aren't, I think that they just happen so frequently and so regularly that people are just kind of getting used to it at this point.
So do you think the frequency is the main cause then?
I think so, yeah. I mean, there's so many that happen on a daily basis that nobody knows about, like small ones and everything. It's just the bigger ones are the ones in places that don't have a lot that get big news coverage.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there needs to be a focus on the survivors and more focus on the survivors and victims of school shootings?
I feel like there needs to be an equal to both sides, because obviously if you focus on the victims, it's like, well, it was tragic, like you lost them, but also a lot of the victims like end up getting or the survivors end up getting PTSD and like just like me personally, I still get nightmares about it. It's like it's finding the balance in between the two, because both sides are equally as important.
If you don't mind me asking, how do you like deal with this like PTSD of a tragic event like this?
Honestly, friendships, just talking about it all the time. She's listened to me talk about this story hundreds of, not millions of times, and it just, knowing that somebody is there to be able to listen and comfort me is a big thing.
So your friend Rihanna went through a school shooting, so how did you learn about that?
She actually texted me a few hours after the fact, and she sounded very calm about it, but in my brain, after I heard about it, I was very much freaking out. It was a very scary moment, but yeah, she texted me a few hours after it happened.
So what was going through your head when you got that message from her?
What do I do? Like, I felt helpless at the time. I felt like there was nothing I could do. I felt kind of like a failure in a sense, just because she was so far away from me that I couldn't do anything, and the idea of losing my best friend was terrifying. So, very helpless at the time.
So how's Rihanna been doing ever since the school shooting?
She talks about it a lot. I think that as much as she's healed, there's parts of her that aren't healed. She still has nightmares, still wants to talk about it a lot of the time, and I'm always here to listen. So I think she's doing better, but definitely still scared by it.
Has the event affected like your relationship with her at all?
I'm definitely more scared whenever she's not, like, not like when she's not around me, but when she is in a school setting or says she's going to go back to Colorado. That feeling of just, you never know what can happen, and you never know if it's going to happen again, or if someone's going to be just as psychotic and decide to shoot up the school. So it's just the feeling of not knowing if she's going to be okay again out there.
So we're wrapping up here. Is there anything you want to say before we end this?
I'm just grateful to be able to share this experience with and help you guys out with your project and still be here.